recognize the Leader of the Third Party.
Morning, Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Premier, I missed you. It's so good to see you. I missed all of you, and this is just like the first day of school, right? It feels like, we always say it's the first day of school, right? And that's what it feels like. One heck of a summer break. I can see that the Premier's tan's still going pretty well. But in honor of the first day of school, let's have a pop quiz. Everybody into a pop quiz? Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Order!
One chance.
Order!
Can the Premier explain to all of us exactly what a conflict of interest is?
I recognize the Government House Leader.
Thanks, Speaker.
Sit down. Stop the clock. Order! Member for Sudbury will come to order. I recognize the Government House Leader.
Thanks, Speaker. Through you to the potential new leader of the Liberal Party. You know, our members did have a good summer. They worked hard in their ridings. They went to local events. They met with stakeholders. They worked hard, and I have to tell you, we are so excited to be members of Premier Ford's team that is going to stand up to Donald Trump, that is going to ensure that workers are protected. They're going to ensure that our economy moves forward, that we have the best public services in Ontario. And we're going to continue to put forward pieces of legislation and other initiatives from our government. So if the member opposite wants to make jokes and have a pop quiz, we're ready for every question you have to put before the government, and we're going to deliver for the people of Ontario.
Well, I don't think we got an answer, so I'll let you know what a conflict of interest is, Speaker, through the Premier. It's when you use...
The Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism will come to order.
That's right, Speaker. It's when you put your interest or someone else's interest ahead of the people whose interest you're supposed to protect. So the Minister of Labour intervened to award a $7.5 million contract from the Skills Development Fund to a company whose lobbyist is his close personal friend, Michael Rutherford. Now, the minister openly admitted to this on radio, openly admitted to a conflict of interest, using his influence.
Question.
So, Speaker, to the Premier, will he ask the Minister of Labour to step aside?
Recognize the Minister of Labour.
Speaker, we don't need anyone on this side of the House to tell us to support our first responders, to support their training, to support their mental health, to make sure they're equipped with the tools and the skill sets they need to run into danger while everyone else runs from it. Let's look at a project, Speaker, City of Mississauga, their first responders project to support firefighters, supported by then Mayor Bonnie Crombie, Speaker. She personally reached out. She supported the project. She lauded the Premier when we made the announcement. We're going to make those investments because those first responders know that the alternative is to cut their funding, is to deny funding, to defund the police. That's the alternative on the other side of the House, Speaker. And while I'm at it, Speaker, I've got another letter in support of the Skills Development Fund from one of his own members, Speaker, advocating for a Skills Development Fund that was submitted late, Speaker, from his own member of that own party, Speaker. I'd love to chat a bit more about that. Thank you, Speaker.
Talk to the Leader of the Third Party.
So what the Premier should be saying to the Minister is, you're fired. You'd be familiar with that, Premier. So if the Premier doesn't say that, here's what this means. Because the Minister's clearly in conflict of interest. He's admitted it. He's used his influence to further his friend's benefit. And if you don't think that's wrong, that means you think it's okay, that all this is good, that everything that's happened in the Skills Development Fund is okay. if you don't fire this minister. So my question to the Premier is, are you going to fire your Minister of Labour?
Back to the Minister of Labour.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, every day we get up to create meaningful opportunities for our next generation. Speaker, under that member's party, when they had the opportunity, when they held the balance of power, we saw a historic drop in the number of registered apprentices, youth who are seeking meaningful careers in the skilled trades. But it's no surprise, Speaker, they didn't build schools in communities like mine. They closed them. When it comes to what side rural Ontarians know they're on, they support this government, Speaker, because we're making investments in new schools. We're making investments in hospitals. Those buildings aren't going to build themselves. We need a next generation. We've seen a historic increase in the number of women. I want to laud the carpenters who are here today in this House. Local 27 have played an important role in that. Just to name one, Speaker, we'll continue to make those investments to create meaningful opportunities, and our record's clear. 40% increase in women, a historic increase in the number of youth between 15 and 24. We'll keep working hard, Speaker. We're not going to pay attention to the members opposite.
Recognized, and just a reminder, ask your questions through the Speaker. I recognize the Leader of the Third Party.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And my question is back to the Premier. The Auditor General has uncovered that more than half the money in the Skills Development Fund went to lower-scoring projects, which were more than half of the projects. Hundreds of millions of dollars awarded to companies who were either friends, donors, or lobbyists that were connected to the government. It's the same names: Tanaik, Masudi, Fidani Diker, Diamond. And we know the Premier thinks this is all okay, because he's not going to fire his Minister of Labour. It's all good. Right, Premier? Does the Premier, Speaker, does the Premier believe that the government is his own personal piggy bank to reward insiders and well-connected lobbyists?
Back to the Minister of Labour.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, we're proud to have a robust public registry. It's public for everyone to see, Speaker, and nobody in Ontario believes. Nobody believes, Speaker, we have the most accessible Premier, the most accessible government in Ontario's history. You doubt it? Just text the man. Just call the man. He'll get back to you, Speaker. And again, we don't need anyone to tell us to invest in first responders, Speaker, to create opportunities for men and women in the skilled trade, Speaker, who were abandoned under the previous government. That's why organized labour has left them, Speaker. They know whose side they're on. They are on our side, Speaker, to support, because we're supporting meaningful investment in historic infrastructure projects, $200 billion in infrastructure, Speaker, because behind each and every dollar there is a job, is an opportunity for someone, for a young boy or girl out there in Ontario who wants to be part of a better tomorrow, Speaker, building hospitals, building schools, building highways, roads, critical infrastructure. They could have done it on public transit. They didn't. Under the Ontario line, we will get the job done, Speaker.
Back to the Leader of the Third Party.
So, Speaker, someone needs to remind the Premier that he's not at Deco Labels anymore. And the hubba, wink, wink, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It doesn't work for the 700,000 Ontarians who are looking for work, who are just worried about paying the rent, who are just concerned that they're not going to be able to put food on the table for their kids. I was in Windsor last week. 1 in 10 people are unemployed. Highest unemployment rate in the country. So, Speaker, when will the Premier stop treating this government like a piggy bank to reward insiders and donors and friends?
Back to the Minister of Labour.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, when it comes to this economy, Speaker, that's under threats from south of the border, workers know who will have their back. We're facing all of these threats, and that's the best this member can bring to the House. He was in Windsor, so was I last week, Speaker. He spoke for 2 minutes at Building Trades. Speaker, was summarily dismissed by those members who back our Skills Development Fund, who back this government, Speaker, who are making historic investments in infrastructure. He had the opportunity to build highways, Speaker. He didn't. He had the opportunity to build schools. They closed them in rural Ontario, in ridings like mine, Speaker. That's why we're making investments in critical infrastructure. We're breaking down barriers into the skilled trades. We've seen a historic number of women. In fact, that member should have mentioned the provincial building trades. They have a program to get women into the trades, supported by this government through the Skills Development Fund.
Final supplementary.
So $27 million to bars and restaurants and nightclubs in downtown Toronto. Money to law firms, money to veterinary clinics, money to dental brokerages, and all with deep connections to either the Premier or one of his ministers. The rot runs deep in this government. It's the same rot we saw in the Greenbelt. And funny enough, Mr. X is in the news with the Minister of Labour for another day. I was in Thunder Bay. I was in Hamilton. I was in Brampton. I was in Brantford. And if I lived there right now and I was looking for work, I'd be angry at this government, and I'd be right to be angry. So for the last time, when will the Premier stop treating government like a piggy bank for his friends and insiders?